Hi there, welcome to That Board Game Show. My name is James Wood, and today I'm going to show you Dice City. Designed by Vangelis Bagiartakis and published by AEG. The capital city of Rolldovia has been destroyed and sacked by barbarians. And now it's up to the players to take on the role of various nobles who are in charge of their own little provincial cities and grow them to a point of prestige to become the new capital of the land. How you're going to do that is you are going to be building your city by acquiring cards here. You're going to be rolling dice to trigger the buildings in your city. And then you're going to be gathering resources and points, and you'll be using those resources to beat off bandits, to open trade routes, and to buy more buildings. Now, today I'm going to show you the solo mode, and I'm also playing with the By Royal Decree expansion. So there's a few extra cards and extra dice involved. The most obvious addition being this board over here, which is the trade board. This is not present in the base game. And you also get this additional trade die. So in the base game, you just have one of these boards for each player and the 5 colored dice. Each die corresponds to a row. I also have some little 3D printed token trays to keep all the bits organized. Those don't come in the game, although the game does have a good insert where everything is kept nice and organized for you. And I think the best way to show you the gameplay and how it works is to just start playing, and I'll explain the differences between the solo game and the multiplayer game as we go. One of the new additions in the By Royal Decree expansion is this deck of Queen's Plan cards. Now, I'm not going to play with these today because they don't really fit the solo rules terribly well, but I'll just show you what some of them are so you have some idea of what you can play with. In a multiplayer game, each player would be given 2 of these to pick. You would keep one face down as a private plan, and you'd place the other one face up in the middle of the table, which is a public plan that anyone can work towards. So the Queen's plans are things like this one here, build 2 locations of each type. And you will see that we have different types of buildings. We have civic buildings, which are the blue ones. They have this little bell. Cultural buildings are purple with the little quill. Economic buildings are these gold ones with the coin in the corner, and then military are red with a little helmet in the corner. So if you manage to build 2 of each type in your kingdom, naturally the ones printed on your board aren't going to count. You have to actually build them into your city. You'll see how that works shortly. This card will score you 5 points at the end of the game. Then we have something like this, build this exact pattern. You want to have a civic building, a cultural building, and a civic building in a very specific pattern anywhere in your city. And fill a row with built locations. So that one wants you to build up an entire row. So these can just give you a bit of focus and an additional way to score points. I'm not going to play with those today because how the solo game works is you have a deck of 60 cards. With the expansion, you actually have more than 60 cards once you've put them all together, so I just shuffle them up and draw 60 cards. There's a couple different ways in the expansion rulebook of how you can draw the cards. And you're going to play out either 12 or 15 turns in the solo game, so it's a hard cap. On a hard game, you are going to deal out 2 rows of 5 cards, so these cards here, these 5 and these 5, are the ones from this building deck. These buildings here are always available, the mine, the lumber mill, the quarry, and the regular army. And at the end of each turn, you are going to discard the bottom row of cards, pull the top row down, and draw 5 new ones. So the 60 card deck will run out in 12 turns if you're dealing 5 at a time. Or if you want to play a slightly easier game, you can deal out only 4 cards, so you'd only have 4 and 4, and then you have 15 turns before the game ends. And your goal in the solo game is simply to score as many points as possible. The recommended starting point is 50, so if you can beat 50 points or more, you have won the game. And then they recommend that if you do manage to beat 50, you increase it by 5 points each time you play subsequently. So you keep making it a little bit harder on yourself and constantly trying to up your personal best score. So with all of that said, let's dive in with the first turn and you can see the game in action. And I have all the cards from the expansion just shuffled in and all the extra bits. So what I know came from the expansion is the trade board and these little sword tokens. As far as the cards are concerned, they introduced some new mechanics and things. So basically, I'm just going to be showing you both base game and expansion all jumbled together here today, and you will see how it plays. The gameplay is identical, whether you're playing with or without the expansion, barring the addition of this board. So, with all that said, let's roll the dice for the first turn and see how we go. Oh, and you may be wondering what this big red die here is for. This is just to have a visual reminder of how many turns we have remaining. So this is my counter D20, and each time we finish a turn, I will just click it over to turn 2, turn 3, and so on, and then we'll know that we are getting close to the end because I don't think you can see the size of the deck very clearly from that overhead camera. Okay, so setting that back to 1, picking up my dice. So if you're playing multiplayer, everybody rolls their dice simultaneously and assigns them to their cities. So you take your dice, red number 1 goes there, black number 2 goes there, green number 4, this is the trade die. Specific rules on how that works, which I'll explain momentarily. Blue 2, white 4, and a yellow 4. So now our dice have been allocated. Now we can choose how we're going to use them. And there are 4 distinct phases to a turn. So, playing multiplayer, everybody rolls their dice simultaneously, and then starting with the first player and going clockwise, each player will go through the following 4 phases. You will first use all your dice, then you will attack, and you can either attack the barbarians over here. We have these bandit cards, and each bandit has a different defense. So we have bandits with defense of 3, 4, and 5, and they give you 2, 3, and 4 victory points respectively. Or you can attack other players, in which case you can either get some resources from them, deactivate their buildings, do all kinds of stuff. So obviously that element is not present in the solo game. And then after your attack step, you will do your trade and build step, which is when you will use the resources you've acquired on your turn to build buildings and trade with these merchant ships over here. And then it's the end of your turn, player passes to the next player, and so on around the table. So starting with the use dice step, I can use my dice to get resources. This small house over here where my blue die has landed, that will simply give me 1 point. This white 4 is in a forest, that will give me 1 lumber. This traveler die will simply be re-rolled if I choose to actually activate that location. The cave and the cave, these both landed on caves, both give you ore, or iron ore, or something like that. So now I need to look at the resources that I could get, and there's a couple things you can do, which you are reminded of on this handy dice reference sheet. So you can use your dice to use the location underneath the die and resolve its ability. So I could remove that die and get a lumber. Or you can move another die to an adjacent space on that die's row. So I could say, for instance, instead of re-rolling this die, activating its building, I can remove that die and move this die, for instance, over here, now getting 2 lumber instead of 1 lumber and 1 point. So that's another option. You can discard 4 of the location cards in the display that are available to build and reveal 4 new ones. And you can only take this action once per turn. Now, in a solo game, you don't really want to do that because that's just going to accelerate the game end. But if you're playing multiplayer, you might want to do that. You might want to wipe all the cards to get a new lineup. You can reactivate a deactivated location. You'll see how that works later. Or finally, you can pass and gain a pass token. And again, you can only take that action once per turn. Passing means to remove a die and take one of these pass tokens. Then later in the game, once you have 2 pass tokens, you can use 2 by spending them to get any resource of your choice, increase your army strength by 1, or force all other players to re-roll one of their dice of your choice. And again, that's not going to happen in a solo game. So looking at the buildings that are available to purchase here, we have obviously the standard ones at the top, the mine, the lumber mill, and the quarry, and the regular army. And the cost to build them is in the top right corner. So a mine costs 2 iron, a lumber mill costs 2 lumber, and a quarry costs 2 stone, and a regular army costs 2 iron. So with what I have rolled, if I were to use all of these dice, I'd get 2 iron and a lumber. Now I could use those to spend 2 iron and buy either a mine or a regular army, and then start building up my army strength and start attacking bandits. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this location. So re-roll this die. I'm going to re-roll this one and see where it lands. Lands on 2, so now that's on an army space. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pass with this die, so I'm going to remove this die, not using the army, to move this die over to the mountains. Now that will give me a stone, an iron, and a lumber. So I'll just take those for now. There we go. This die will give me 1 point, which I take from the general supply over there. Now, multiplayer game, you would keep these face down so that nobody knows exactly how many points you have. So I was about to use all 3 of these, the iron, the lumber, and the stone, to build this watchtower here, which is worth 2 points, and it adds army strength. But that means I'm ignoring this trade board over here. Now, how this trade board works is you have 2 options for what you can do with this trade die. You can't use this die for any of these standard dice effects. The only way you can interact with this board is to send resources there to take the die off and activate the building that it's below. Or if there are already resources there, you can remove that die and take any resources that have built up on one of those locations. With the resources that I have, I'm going to spend a lumber and a stone to buy the storehouse over here. And I can place this anywhere in my city. I think I will just cover up one of these reroll spots. So now instead of re-rolling that die, I will actually get something. And then I'm going to use this iron, send it off to the manor, and get 2 points. Take it from the supply, remove that die. So that is the end of turn 1. We now discard all of the cards in the bottom row, slide these down, reveal 5 new ones. Progress to turn 2, roll the dice, and do it all over again. So once you are going, this is a very snappy game, especially that everybody rolls and allocates their dice simultaneously. So let's see what we got to work with here. We've got some armies, we've got some points, that's some more armies, so that adds 2 to your army, whereas this just adds 1. And then I also need to pay attention to the buildings. So this storehouse I bought earlier gives me 1 point, and it allows me to pay 1 of any resource to get 3 of that resource. So it's basically like a little trade house. Okay, well, first thing I'm going to do is re-roll this die and see where it lands. It lands on 2. So that's now 2 points. Or remember, I can remove these to move other dice around or get pass tokens. I would need resources to trigger this army over here. So that would give me 2, 3. That would be enough to attack these basic bandits over here for 2 points. I will actually do that. So you'll see how attacks will work. So I will get a stone and an iron. Stone and an iron. I will use both of these to get 2 points. Then, looking at these buildings, I can see I'm going to need lots of iron. I'm going to be needing more iron than stone. So I will take a stone and pay it over to this regular army over here. Hire myself some mercenaries to add 2, 3. So basically I can take these because I'm still at the dice step. So I'll remove those and I have my 3 little swords. And then I will send those 3 swords off over here to ching, 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 fight the bandits and get 2 points. Ba-ding! Now, in the base game, without the expansion, you don't have these little sword tokens, so you just basically remember how many you had. So you'd know you have 3 army strength and then you attack for 3. Because sword tokens do not carry over from turn to turn. If I had any left over, I would just simply discard them. Then it's the end of my turn. There's nothing I can buy for a single iron, so I can carry that iron over into my next turn, but you can only ever carry over 1 of each type of resource. So it's not really in your favor to hoard lots of resources. You can't build them up and then splurge them all on 1 turn. You need to be spending them buying more buildings the whole time, which makes sense. You want to be improving your city as fast as possible. Although, as it is, I haven't improved my city much. I've only added 1 building to it. So we will discard those. We will proceed to turn 3. Get out 5 new buildings. Roll the dice and go again. Ba-dum-tsh. So we can get some iron, we can re-roll a die, some more army strength, re-roll another die, and a forest, get some lumber. Okie dokie. Well, we can also get some more iron over there. Not a bad idea in the early game to buy some of these improved mines, lumber mills, and quarries to increase your production, allowing you to buy the bigger, more expensive buildings. So let's re-roll both of those and see where they land. We get some stone and we get some more iron. Ooh, okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove this die to move this die over to here. Then I'm going to get 2 stone, boom, boom, over here. 2 iron, over here. I'm then going to pay 1 iron over here to get 2 more iron. 1, 2. And then I'm going to spend 2 stone and 2 iron, 1, 2, 1, 2, to buy the mint over here, because this gives you 3 points at the end of the game, and it has the ability of all resource locations provide an additional resource when used. So if a die lands on this building and I have another die, so for instance, if I had that over there and let's put this building, I'm just going to keep covering up these reroll spaces. So let's say this die was over here. Then I would use this die to trigger this building, and my cave would suddenly give me 2 resources instead of just 1. So if my yellow die lands on here, I'm going to be making essentially all of my standard resource spaces as if they were upgraded, which is jolly good. So that was my buy step. I still have 2 iron, one of which I will lose if I don't spend it, so I better spend it. So do I want a mine or do I want a regular army? I think I'm going to buy a regular army, because I've got this. So I'll spend the 2 iron and I'll get a regular army covering over one of these other army spaces. So now I'm getting 2 army and 1 point at the end of the game instead of just 1. Okay, end of turn. Discard cards. So as you can see, the game clicks along at quite a rapid pace once you get going. And the expansion really doesn't complicate the game too much. It just adds a few additional little wrinkles and things to do. We're now in turn 4. Blue die there, black die there, yellow die there. Didn't land where I wanted it to. Although I'm getting quite the big army over here, so I might just use that. Oh my, okay, yes. We are going to war this turn, that's for sure. I'll have to spend a resource over there to get those two. But let's see, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be enough to take on the big bandits over there. As you can see, I'm clearly leaning more into the military route on this game. If I had been building up mines and lumber mills and things and doubling down on my resources, then I could possibly be trading with these ships over here. This is one slight difference with the solo game, in that these cards here are considered to be always available. That's why there's just one of each. Because when you attack these, you don't actually take the card, you just take the points. In a multiplayer game, there are a limited number of each of these cards, and in fact there's only one of this 20-point trade ship. So the first person to claim that is the only person who can claim it. But playing solo, you basically just have access to all of them at any time. So I am going to keep on going the military route. Let's get a stone and an iron. 1 iron, 1 stone. That's going to give me 3 armies over there. Then, again, I think, although it looks like there's a lot of stone coming up in my future, so yeah. I'll spend an iron this time to get 2 more armies over there. 1, 2. I now have 5 army strength. I can use those to attack the big bandits over here for 4 points. Take a 3 and a 1. That is 4 points there. All my army strength is spent. And I can hang on to that stone for the next turn, because there's nothing you can do with a single stone. We'll proceed to turn 5. Discard all those, draw new ones. And I would like to see if I can show you how some of the more unique building types work, because I don't seem to be buying them. So let's see what resources I get this turn and take it from there. Getting some stone, some lumber, and as you can see, sometimes you just don't roll the buildings that you've purchased. Such is the nature of a dice game. And 3, ooh look, one of the buildings I purchased, just when I was complaining. Pay 1 of any resource to get 3 of that resource. That's jolly good. That's jolly good indeed. Okay, yes, maybe I'll show you how a trade ship works. Let's do that. I will get a stone, a lumber, and an iron. 1 iron, 2 lumber, and a stone. Then I will pay 1 iron over here to get 2 iron. I could have just taken that iron if I didn't have any resources to pay for it. Now I have 2, 2, and 2. So I have enough for this 5-point trade ship over here. I would quite like to have 3, 3, 3 and get that trade ship over there, because it's double the points for only slightly more resources. But oh well. Unless I don't trade this turn and just build up my resource plans. Yes, it might be better to get some more buildings, actually. So let's explain how some of the unique elements work that I haven't yet had a chance to show you. So this investment house over here says presence 2. Now, presence is a keyword that was introduced in the by Royal Decree expansion. And what it means is that that is the number of dice that must be in your city after you activate that building. So if this building were here and I had a die on it, when I remove that die to activate that building, I have to have exactly 2 other dice still in my city for that building to trigger. And this one says, if you have at least 3 resources in your stock, get any 2 resources. So in this instance, I'd be able to just get 2 additional resources if I had that building in my city. And then the bazaar over here introduces the deactivation symbol. So if I had the bazaar in my city and activated it, it gives you 1 of each resource, which is super handy. But when you use it, you put one of these deactivation tokens on it, which means the next time a die lands there, you can't use it until you remove another die, or the one that landed on it, to remove that deactivation token. And the other way deactivation tokens can land on your city is if other players attack you. You will place a deactivation token on a building. So basically they can just slow you down and clog up your effective things. If you think about it like a deck builder and you're getting those basic dud cards that don't really do anything, that's essentially what these things are simulating. They're one-time effects, or they're clogging up your dice crafting abilities. So, what resources do I want? I can spend 1 of these and get 3 of them. So I'll have 4 of something. Ooh, okay, that could be quite good. It might be a bit late in the game to start playing for it, but I see this monastery here is worth 2 points for each complete active set of lumber mill, quarry, and mine in your city. So that monastery incentivizes you to build all of these. Although it is only 2 points for a full set, so you have to build all 3 of those. But I could get very close to doing so. In fact, that's precisely what I'm going to do. So I think what I will get is, let's pay an iron, although there's lots of iron out there actually. Let's pay a lumber using this building and get 3 lumber. 1, 2, 3. So now I have 4 of those. I'm going to go 1, 1, and 1 to build the monastery. And then I'm going to spend 1, 2 lumber, and I'm going to get a lumber mill, starting to work towards building a set for this. And let's just replace a forest with a forest. Obviously you can decide, like for instance, if I want to start building out more, maybe I go away from the military route, and let's say I could cover up this military over here. So now I'm going more on a resource heavy plan. Let's actually do that. And then this doesn't actually do anything, it's just for endgame scoring. So I will use that to cover up one of these reroll spots. Okay. I'm going to hang on to these 3, even though I could use them to buy a church. That church is going to slide down. So I will rather wait. I could also buy the investment house. Actually, I will buy the investment house. Come to think of it, let's spend that and that and that. Buy an investment house. Although no. Rewind. Ding, 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 ding. Because I want to rather stockpile my resources to build these for my monastery. There's a plan. Okay, that is all my dice used. Did I use the trade die? I did. I got the mine. Okay, we're going to discard those. Proceed to turn a 6. Deal 5 new cards. 4, 5. Roll the dice. Allocate the dice and keep things ticking over. Oh, that's so nearly landed on my new lumber mill. I want that to land on my new lumber mill. Oh, well, there's a lumber mill. So lumber, stone, stone, iron, iron. Ho ho. Well, would you look at that? I'm not going to move anything. I'm going to work with exactly what I have got. That is 2 iron, 1, 2, 2 stone, 1, 2, 1 lumber, 1. I will then pay 1 lumber over there to get 2 lumber. 1, 2. And now I have 3 of each, so I could actually get a trade ship. Or a mine, a lumber mill, and a quarry. Ooh, decisions. Oh my. Okay. I am going to get the stuff here because then in a subsequent turn I'll more likely be able to get that. So I'm going to spend 2 lumber and get a lumber mill. And let us continue covering up military. We're going to go a fully economic route now. We've put our fighty ways behind us, and now we are focused on peace and resources. And we'll cover that up. Actually, we'll keep on covering up the army things. Let's just do that. And then 2 stone and get a quarry. So now that's 2 points for my monastery, which might not seem like a lot, 2 points for buying 3 cards. When the same amount of resources can get you a trade ship for 10 points. But these are now more likely to let me get more trade ships later in the game. So that's how these things pan out. Let's put something down there. So as you can see, I'm sort of spreading myself out and building all over the place. A viable strategy is to just fill up one row completely, like one of those objective cards told you to, because then you at least know that one of your dice is essentially maxed out and will always produce something really good. That's not a strategy that I've really used a lot, and now that I say it out loud, it's probably a good one to do. Before I pick up those dice and go to the next turn, I do have one of each. I'm going to just keep stockpiling them and not buying these because of that monastery. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. So, not rolling those yet. Discard all of that. Turn 7. Deal out some new cards. And now roll the dice and go again. 5. A 1. More lumber. Not getting my good stuff. Ooh, that's a good stuff. Not many of my dice landed on resource spaces. I've got 2 dice over here on points. All resource locations provide an additional resource when used. So I'd get 2 stone, 2 stone. So I will pass with this die. Well, not pass, I'll remove this die to move this die to here. So it's on a resource space. Then I will get 4 stone. 2, 4. I'm drowning in stone here. I will get 2 lumber, drowning in lumber as well, because I can get more lumber. Sadly, I can't get more iron. Iron would be nice. Technically, I have used that die. But I'll just get more lumber, I guess. Do I want to spend lumber to get lumber? Ooh, I might be able to buy a town hall. That's pretty nice. Or a grand statue. Yeah, I'll pay a lumber to get lumber. So I'll put some lumber in the lumber mill to produce 2 more lumber. 1, 2. The statue, when you build it, you can spend up to 3 additional stone or iron. It costs 1 and 1, and then you can spend an additional 3 more, iron or stone, and get 1 point each. So this can basically net you 5 points for 5 resources, which is a pretty good trade. Or the town hall is just 3 points straight up. Use the ability of any location in your city. That's a very nice one to have. And it's worth 3 points all by itself. Or, I've used that, haven't I? Or I just keep building here. I've already got 2 lumber mills, so I don't really need more lumber mills at this stage. I'm going to spend 2 stone and get a quarry. And let's put my quarry down here. Then I'm going to spend 2 stone, 2 lumber, and an iron and get this town hall, because that is just too tempting to pass up. And I'm going to plop that over Let's plop that over here, and we'll keep covering up any location. Okay, use the ability of any location in your city. That is very powerful. So basically that turns into a wild die that can do anything you want it to a point. Okay, that cost me 2 stone, 2 lumber, and an iron. I still have 2 lumber left, which I can only keep 1 of. So I could get stables, move 1 of your unused dice to any location in its row. Or the flea market, get 1 resource of your choice. Yeah, let's do that. That is a lumber and a stone to buy the flea market. And this is another one with presence. If you have presence 4, meaning after activating that, if there are 4 dice left in your city, you get another resource of that type. Let's plop that over there. So that's my little commerce row in the middle there. Okay, I've only got 1 lumber left, so there's not much I can do with that. We will proceed to the next turn. And we will roll the dice on turn 8. Ooh, 1s and 1s. 1, 1, not... seriously? Right next to the things I've built. 2. Unreal. These dice just have a mind of their own. They are quite impossible. Oh, look, I actually get a thing. Oh, golly. If I pass with that to move this to here, I'm giving up 1 iron to get 2. That would then be 3. Or I could pass with that. So remove that, move this to here. Then I get 2, 3 stone and 1, 2 iron. Aha. I'll pass with this one to put this over here. Then I'll use that to get 2 stone, 2 iron, and 2 lumber. And now I have enough for a trade ship. I'm not going to use this because 2 army strength by itself doesn't do anything. You need at least 3. So I'm going to remove that and get this extra iron. I would like to have an extra stone right now. Oh well. I'm going to spend 2 stone, 2 iron, and 2 lumber and get a trade ship. So 2, 2, and 2. To do this trade ship here, which is 5 points only. That's not very good. I should rather get buildings. Meh, I'll just show you how this works. So we're getting a trade ship that is 5 points. We'll take a 5 point over there. Boom. I'll then have an iron and a lumber left over. And then we will discard these 5 cards because I am basically out of resources. I only have these 2, which none of those cost. So I'll bank those for the next turn. And before I move on to turn 9 and deal out new cards, I'm actually going to stop there. I think that's given you a pretty good sense of how the game plays. You've seen almost everything in action. I've explained how presence works and how deactivating works, even though I haven't actually used it. But basically, you're going to just keep on repeating turn after turn, get resources, use resources, buy buildings as you see your board gets more and more advanced as you go. So probably not a bad idea to just fill up 1 complete row with cards, because then at least one of your dice always does something good. I seemed to be managing to roll in between all my new buildings every turn, and sometimes that's just how it crumbles. So there you have a little demo of how Dice City plays solitary with the By Royal Decree expansion. And with that, I shall say thank you ever so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the show. And remember to spread the joy of tabletop gaming.